Hello, everyone. My name is Tinu Phillips. I'm actually very excited to be here today. Thank you very much for having me. Um, I'm a leadership and life coach with the John Maxwell team and also a founder at Ladies Breaking Boundaries, a community of women focused on empowering and inspiring women to be major contributors to the economic growth of their nation. I consider it a great privilege to be attending the True Women Conference 2020 as a speaker, and not just as a speaker, but speaking on the role of women in nation building. And I consider this a great honor. So this particular topic is actually very dear to my heart. Um, Thank you very much. Considering the role that I occupy in the economy that's in the nation that we all operate, and the focus of my own course. All right, so I would like to start with this, that the destruction or the rebuilding of any nation actually starts with individuals who are products of the families and communities they stem from. You and I, we are actually products of the families and communities that we stem from. And the destruction of Nigeria or the rebuilding of Nigeria actually starts with us as individuals. So if you ask me that what makes up a nation, I will tell you from individuals to families, then to communities, and then we have the nation. So you can see the complement. You can see how each and every one of us actually fits in. So whether you are a woman or a man, you are saddled with a national responsibility, which is never limited to self. And when I say self, I mean it is not limited to you as an individual. Let's even try to go spiritual a bit. I would say that we are all saddled with a divine assignment, which many refer to as purpose. And that is why the Bible would say, before you were formed in your mother's womb, he knew you. Whether you're a man or a woman, God sees you as a vessel worthy of purpose. It is actually not gender specific. Whether you are a man or a woman, God sees you as a vessel worthy of purpose. No one actually happened by accident. You didn't get to this earth by accident. He knew you. He drafted it. He has everything well planned. He gave you an assignment. There is a reason you are here on this earth. We all have assignments larger than self. And the more we stretch ourselves to grow towards our potential, I can tell you, the more we impact lives around us and contribute our own quota to nation building. It is just that simple. So I wouldn't want to go too spiritual today, as this is not a religious setting, as I'm actually tempted to, but I'll stay within focus. The main focus of tonight's presentation is actually women's role in nation building. And I prefer to convert it into a nudging statement that is, woman, know your place. So this is like a nudge to each and every one of us. Know your place. Woman, know your place. The main theme is women's role in nation building, but I would like to put it to you as, woman, know your place. Because the world actually suffers. Our nation suffers because only one hand is actively working. Actively active. So pardon me for the lack of better words. I would rather prefer to use actively active. Only one hand is actively active. The culture and other limiting factors have really crippled our women to seeing themselves less of being or less of the male gender, which has a ripple effect on their contributions to the society at large. So they see themselves as a being lesser than the male gender, or even lesser than human. And that is why I decided to put together 3 major factors limiting the female gender from living her best self. 1, I call it culture. And one thing we all must understand is that culture is a collective programming of the mind. It is learned, it is shared. But most importantly is that it is man-made. and it can be changed. It is man-made and it can be changed. For any part of our culture that does not help us in any way, it is okay to break away from it. It is so fine to break away from it. Would you rather prefer it to kill you than for you to break away from it? The patrilineal and the patriarchal kind of structure where a girl child is placed secondary to a boy child and denied privileges and rights, as I believe it just has to stop. We have to stop it. We have to stop it because it is in no way helping us. Neither is it even helping the community at large. 2 is law-inflicted limitations. I actually know there have been some recent reforms here and there from time to time with respect to different reforms that have impacted positively on the promotion and protection of women's rights in Nigeria. But I can tell you that there is still a lot to be done. And women must be well aware of this, that there is still a lot to be done. I remember that at some point in time, there was actually a law that women could not bail someone out of a cell. Women could not, you must get a male, you must get a man to bail someone out of the prison or out of the cell rather. And there was even a time that we could not have female chief judge. We couldn't. But things are changing and there are still more to be worked on, even in our constitution, in our legal system. So the third one is self-inflicted limitations. Recently, I carried out a survey on self-limiting beliefs women suffer from. And here actually the outcome. Although many have societal influences, but we take responsibilities for not breaking off them, right? The first one is women are inferior to men. The second one, patriarchy and patrilineal beliefs are part of culture, and culture is sacred. Culture is sacred. So even if patrilineal beliefs kill us, we should still embrace it because culture is sacred. That is one of the limiting beliefs. 3, women are meant to and should only operate at the lower rung of commerce or business ladder. So we mustn't aim to be at the top. We should only function at the very bottom. 4, politics is Boy Scouts. Women can only watch from the other room. 5, marriage is the height of women's achievements. In case you find yourself here, today is the day of deliverance. I used to find myself at number 5, that is marriage is the height of women's achievements. I actually never knew that. I was even a victim of the culture that I was condemning. I was a victim of it. And subconsciously, immediately I got married, I let down my guard. I forgot everything about what I was hoping to become, my aspirations. I just felt, oh, I'd achieved this, and this is just the height of it all. But I will tell you right now, if you are also in these shoes, if you find yourself in these shoes, always remember that marriage does not mean that you give up greatness. Marriage doesn't mean that you should give up greatness. You can achieve marriage, a happy home, and also still achieve greatness. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. No. So I would like to say this, that before you place my head on the platter, I am not men averse. I'm actually married and I'm happily married. I can say happily married. But I will say to you today that marriage is actually not the height of your achievement. Your marriage is meant to bring you to breaking the glass ceiling, but not putting a cap to your potentials. Always get that straight. And that is the fact. So I remind you again at this point, oh woman, take your place. If we do not break down the problems that our nation faces today, perhaps we wouldn't understand why and how we could plug into its building or its rebuilding. So I would say that let's just attempt this difficult exercise now. Give me one or two problems faced by modern Nigeria today. I'm very sure even my 7-year-old, my 4-year-old child can really attempt this particular exercise. Everyone knows what the problem is. So on my list, I have unemployment, I have lack of good leadership, that is the fact. I have poverty, high rate of business extinction, slow business growth, foreign currency issues, lack of infrastructures, values and morals issues, poor brand identity. Even on the global space, Nigeria suffers poor brand identity, and all thanks to our own product out there and also in here. So all of these and many more are the problems of Nigeria that we seldom identify, but they are not the real problems. They are just the outcome or the symptoms of the real problems. And one of the very real problems, I mean the main root cause, I'm going to demystify everything around it today so that it comes out clear to you. So we are not dealing with symptoms rather than we dealing with the root causes. So we don't leave the main problem and then we're only dealing with the surface rather than going deep to attend to the root. So one of the very key root cause that I have identified is actually gender inequality. Unfortunately, many fight the solution they have been yearning for, including we women. Gender equality is actually not a war unto the male gender or the community at large. It is a clarion call that almost gets to work. What balance do we expect from a supposed two-legged table that is operating with one leg? Of course, it can't be balanced. And that is the situation of the world at large. Because this inequality is actually not a Nigerian issue. It actually cuts across the global space. The nation barely sits on one leg at the moment. I mean, Nigeria barely sits on one leg at the moment. And that is why the mindset that less is expected of us to contribute to the economic growth of a nation than what is expected of the men, it must be abolished. We must eradicate it. We must say no to it. We must delete it from our mindset. Before I stop, because I'm already running out of time, I only have 25 minutes, I will leave you with my thought around 3 out of the 7 pillars of the nation and why you need to be actively involved in driving a change that we deserve or that we really want to see. The first one is family. The quality of the leaders and followers we have today are products of the society we live in and the family we build. Somebody was saying it one time like that, sometimes ago. He said that we have poor leaders, we have bad leaders, we have terrible leaders. And I said that the quality of the leaders we have, even the followers that we have today, are products of the society we live in and the family we built. Women occupy the roles as the primary caretakers of the home, because you might be asking yourself the question that, okay, so how do I fit in here? Okay, we produce these bad leaders, so how do I fit in? But as women, we occupy the roles as the primary caretakers of the home. Hence, the failure in our parenting responsibility poses a high risk of the children becoming a detriment to the society we live in. And that is why I'm calling upon you to come and ensure you take up this responsibility wholeheartedly. The role of the woman is to nurture, develop, and instill the right values in the children. And that is a major responsibility that cannot be outsourced as it is tied to nation building. There's always this kind of ripple effect, and we must be well informed. We must take cognizance of that. The second is government. This is very interesting. You know, people say politics is a dirty game, that it is not for women. So I will tell you today that Perhaps we can change that to politics is a dirty game. We need women to make it clean. Because the first only scares us. It does no other thing than to scare us. But the second, to a certain extent, is a clarion call to say that we have a problem and you are the solution. Could you please come in to help us make it clean? And one good fact is this: the exclusion of women in politics that has been identified as one of the major setbacks in economic development. Whether we argue it or not, that is just the fact. That exclusion of women in politics is actually one of the major setbacks in economic development. Politics, as a real world phenomenon, is highly gendered, and we cannot expect that our interests to be well represented by those who do not share our identity, people who do not share our pain or our experiences, people who do not share our lives. It is not their fault, it is our own fault. Because you can only represent me well when you share my pain or my experience or my identity. They really don't know where the shoes hurt. So we leave our own fate in the hands of others. Why should we operate on the menu rather than we being at the table where decisions are being made? But we rather operate on the menu where people are dissecting us, where people are determining our own fate. Women are actually highly underrepresented in the helm of affairs of Nigeria. So by my last research, the proportion of seats held by women in national parliament as of 2019 in Nigeria was 3.38%. I actually don't have the current figure. And its highest value over the last 9 years was 7%. And that was in 2010. 7%. You know, there is actually little or nothing we can do from the bottom if we do not grab our seats at the very table where the power of implementation really lies. And that's the simple truth. If you say, I do not like politics, well, one way or the other, you are already a part. Whether you vote during election or you sleep at home, giving the chances to those who do not have our interest at heart to win, you're already a part. You're already a part of politics. You're already in politics. So why not we get in proper and change the trajectory of this nation? And give our children and our children's children to come hope of a brighter tomorrow or a place to call home. The third is business. I'm very passionate about this very part. The total number of enterprises was estimated at 41.5 million. Please follow these statistics. 41.5 million, out of which 99.8% are actually micro. When I say micro, I'm talking about hand to mouth kind of ventures. Ventures that are not able to employ, ventures that as they're making money, they're also spending the money. The very hand to mouth kind of ventures. SMEs occupy 0.17%. You can imagine the margin between both. And the medium enterprises, these ones are actually 1,793 number. So you can imagine the structure of our business space. No wonder they actually said that businesses support the economic growth of a nation. No wonder we aren't seeing much impact from our own business sectors. We are not seeing much impact even in our GDP contribution. Why? Because the structure, the larger part of the base is actually micro. Micro will only give you activities, but would not give you that growth that you really require. So women must understand that we need their inclusion in business, because you might be asking me, so what do I do with these statistics, you know? Women must understand that we need their inclusion in business, and not just in business, but a thriving business, not a mushroom kind of, not hand to mouth kind of. You can Google it. Small to medium kind of businesses are the backbone of any emerging country, not the micros. Micros actually have little impact in their little ways, but it boils down to activities, not the growth that we really deserve. At the moment, SMEs in Nigeria contribute close to 50% of our national GDP and 80% of employment in the country. And right now, we are complaining about unemployment. So if SMEs is contributing 80% of the employment in the country, I'm not talking about micro now, I'm talking about SMEs, it's contributing 80% of employment in the country. That means if we focus more on supporting that space, on driving inclusion in that space, we will be able to do more to reduce the unemployment ratio of the country. And what does that mean? That actually means that the more growing businesses we have, the more reduced unemployment, poverty ratio, and many other things. In fact, once it impacts the GDP, once we keep on experiencing growth in our GDP, it will be hard for us to fall into recession. The economic outlook out there in the global space will make sense. And then it will be able to attract more investors to us. The society and the self-limiting beliefs have made women to be contented with mushroom kind of business structure. And this is actually visible in their attitude towards grants application and loan request. I used to work in a typical commercial bank, availing credit facilities to businesses. In my 8 years of stay, I can say that for every 200 men that approaches the bank for a loan, you would see just one female. You can search round, you can investigate round. Women are contented with the static level of their ventures. Unlike a typical man who is thinking about pushing the business to employ over 300 staff, leverage on globalization to put his products or services out there, looking out for opportunities in international development, such as the AfCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Arrangement, seeking ways for all-round improvement. A woman's thoughts is pretty wired to think about the four walls of the home and living far below her potential. How sad. How sad. So today, if you are here, your period of thinking small is over. I really wish that we could have enough time so that we can really dissect these things, this point, and let you see how your contribution in your own little way actually impact the nation at large, so that you can put in more effort and understand that you are not to be limited. You are not to be limited. Your purpose is not actually for you alone. Neither is it only limited to the four walls of your home. It is more than that. So as I said earlier, your period of thinking small is actually over. Today, we are delivered from culture-induced and self-inflicted limiting beliefs. By nature, we are made to produce, fertilize, and nurture. I said to someone recently, I said, give a woman a sperm, just that liquid, and she would give you life, a living being. That is the power of a feminine being. It is the right time to think big and play your role in developing the country that birthed you. My friend, we have actually rested for too long. And that is why I will say this. Woman, know your place. Thank you very much for having me. I hope I've not overspent my time. If you have questions, I'm very sure that the true women would definitely, the committee will definitely find a way to pass it across so that it can also be attended to. Thank you very much for having me. I hope you enjoyed your time here. But this is a clarion call that you are not in any way limited. You are not in any way less of a being or less than the next man. You are a full being and you carry an assignment. You carry an assignment no matter what the culture says, what the society says. You are made for more. Woman, know your place. Thank you.